Wait, did you just say that? Let's dive in to the crazy things people say to grievers. As a 6 foot redhead who loves to play with her looks, I often hear hilarious, cringeworthy, and inappropriate comments. But when you think about it, wait, what did you just say? Today, we're going to dive into the crazy, cringeworthy, and sometimes downright hilarious things people say to grievers. You know yourself as a griever, you've heard them all. You know you have, and you are dumbfounded. And how do I respond to this? What do I say to this? During the toughest times in our lives, some people just come out with the craziest things. It's like a word salad is coming out of their mouth and they just don't know how to stop. Today, you're going to laugh with me, most probably because you don't want to cry, but we're going to do it all today. We're going to laugh. We're going to dive deep into those crazy comments we hear, and then we're going to figure out why they happen. I want to just take a moment and say thank you. If it wasn't for you and all your support, your messages, your likes, your comments, Grief Uprooted wouldn't be a reality. It is with your support that I keep going. And I thank you so very much. And I want to give back to you. I want you to visit griefuprooted.com and visit Grief and Trauma Recovery Support. Right now, I am offering a free 1 hour grief discovery session to you, my listener. In this 1 hour, we will look at your grief. We will look at the path that you're on. I will dive deep with you in understanding some of the emotions and trials that you're facing to where's your path leading you. I would love to hear your stories. And I want to offer you 1 free hour to sit with me and let's explore your grief together. It's only together that we can walk this path from grief to growth. And this is my gift to you, as you have given me the greatest gift. And that is your support, your love, and your encouragement to keep on going. So visit griefuprooted.com, click the pink button, pick your time, and I can't wait to meet you. Join me today for the craziest, and I mean the downright cringeworthy, hilarious, and sometimes inappropriate things people say to you while you're grieving. Let's go. Welcome to Grief Uprooted, a podcast dedicated to sharing your grief stories. Together, we embark on the mystery of one's grief journey as they learn to live, heal, and be courageous in a world rooted in trauma. Join myself, Christine, in an open discussion to help you uproot the grief in all our lives. I am an award-winning author, professional speaker, and humanitarian in the field of grief and trauma. I want you to be part of the discussion. Okay, so let's get started. Grief is tough, and it's even tougher when you're trying to navigate those well-meaning but very awkward moments in your life. This is when you go out for dinner and you're trying to have that conversation with someone, and we all understand when we're grieving the condescending touch or the well-meaning rub of the shoulder, the silence that all of a sudden the whole table starts to take on. And as your presence walks in, you're kind of like, how do I balance this? This uncomfortableness even may prevent you from even going for dinner. But then you get the chutzpah, however that word is said, you get the guts to actually go for dinner. You decide, okay, I'm going to go for dinner and I'm going to do this. And then as you walk towards that table, you're feeling the silence come. And then you sit down and you just don't know what to say. And it's something like this. Somebody looks at you, their voice lowers, and at least they're in a better place. And your thought, excuse me, they're in a better place? The best place for my spouse or my child or anybody to be is right next to me on the couch watching Netflix, eating popcorn, and living their life. How in the world do you respond to this? Can you honestly say what you're thinking? Can you honestly look at this person and go, you have no clue? Often they're in a better place. Okay, I'll just dial 1-800-HEAVEN and try to find them. It doesn't work that way. But then they smile politely while someone's words hit you, like just like a smack in your face. I had one lady on in one episode and she was like, I just wanted to throat punch them. What do you do in these moments? Do you cry? Do you laugh? Do you run and hide? Some of the phrases that people say, let's just explore them. Let's just stay here for a moment before we dive into our emotions that heavy. Let's look at the unintentionally funny things people say while you're grieving. And spoiler alert, it's going to be a wild ride. And you may at one point want to smack me. And you may at one point want to cry. And you may want to, at one point, just want to say, shit, she's being real and honest. So let's dive. Number one, at least they're in the better place. This seems to be one that's very, very common. You know, you've heard it. And your mind is going. Your mind is like, what's the better place? Like, do they have great Wi-Fi? Where are they? Is it true? Is it not true? Is my belief system right? Is my belief system wrong? Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe they're not. But I'll tell you one thing. The best place for my loved one who has died is right beside me. No better place than being in my love and me being in their love. There's no better place. The next one after that, everything happens for a reason. Could you possibly tell me the reason? And could it make sense? Because every day I have things that happen to me. I run out of coffee, I stub my toe, I see crazy things sometimes, I see roadkill. Is there a reason for that? You can spend your mind going down a rabbit hole when somebody says to you, it happens for a reason. There's so many horrific things that happen to us in life. And there's so many small little things that happen to us in life, but do they all have a purpose and a reason? And I know you're grieving. And if you're anything like me, you want to dive in. You want to go, yes, I saw, that dead animal, or I saw that bird, or I had this happen, and it all has a purpose and a reason, because that's to make us feel better. But when somebody says it to you and you're newly in your grief, it's debilitating. And I'll tell you right now, there cannot be any reason in this world why it makes sense that someone took your loved one, that your loved one died. None. The next one after that, you need to be strong. I want you to tell me of a superhero who is emotionally strong. We see them, they can fly, they can, armor, they're like got a magic hammer. They can do so many different things. Show me one that emotionally can take it. I'll get up and be strong when I can. But until then, step aside, because I'll show you strength. It is not about being a superhero. It is not about, making it all work and say, I'm strong and I can put on the armor. It's about collapsing in my couch and eating a pint of ice cream and then following it with a pizza and then following with crying and then maybe turning on some girl flick or chick flick or even some, anything just to let me feel. It's not about being strong. The next one, and I've worked with so many people that have heard this one. Aren't you over it yet? Move on. You're spending too much time grieving. You need to move on. You need to clear out the closets. You need to start moving on. Okay. I'll just pull out a drawer in my bedroom, puke out all my emotions, all my grief. I'll just throw it all in this drawer and I'll shut it and I won't deal with it. I'll just move on. And you know what? I'll add it to my childhood issues too, because I have absolutely no idea why this is happening to me. And if I could get over it, this is a really good answer to this one. If I could get over it, don't you think I'd be doing it? Don't you think I'd be getting over it? I know you all can relate to me. And I know all of you, some might be saying, okay, you're going too far. But don't we have to go too far to understand people, to understand why they're saying what they're saying? Because sometimes we feel so lost and so confused in this time while you're grieving. And you have every right to feel lost. You have every right to sit down and eat a pint of ice cream and follow it with pizza and follow it with chocolate bars. You have every right to, because your loved one died. You have the right to grieve. And you have the right to look at some of these things and go, what? No, my loved one, best place, right next to me, eating that ice cream and following it with pizza. How do you respond? All of it is in good fun, what I just said. In the sense, what I mean by good fun is making a mockery of how people are trying so hard to reach out to us. And you don't want to be cynical. You don't want to be like, well, these people are reaching out to me and I'm going to snap back. No, they're trying. Yes. But when people drop these gems on you, do you scream into the pillow? Do you do what my one uh, podcast guest said, just throat punch them? Do you do that? No. Let's equip you right now who are grieving, with some comebacks, with some things that will help you make it through this difficult time, but also show that you understand that your friends and those around you are actually trying to help you. So when someone says, at least they're in a better place, could we not say it in a kind way? What's that address? Because I'd love to send them a postcard. Somebody said this to me after my brother died, and they said, well, you know, at least he's in a better place. He's at peace. And I was like, I wish I could dial 1-800-HEAVEN. And they kind of looked back at me and I said, I understand what you're saying, but I really would love to know that for sure. So sometimes just calmly responding and saying, what's that phone number? What's that address? Because I'd love to send them a postcard. I'm sure your friend would respond differently to you and maybe open up a conversation that needs to be had. Next, everything happens for a reason. That one's a hard one. And yep, you know what? The reason I'm eating the pizza, following it with the ice cream or vice versa, and bawling my eyes out on the couch is because my loved one is dead. I'm grieving. I don't know the reason. Do tell me, what is the reason for this? Because right now, when I dive deep into all these things and say, what's the reason for him dying? What's the reason for this happening to me? This just piles up in me with all the other experiences I had prior to this. So ask, say, right. Like when I sit down and eat the pizza, the ice cream, and cry, it all happens for a reason, because I'm grieving. I'm hurt and I feel. You just need to be strong. Just smile and say, great advice. And I'll add that to my things to do along with ugly crying every night, trying to figure out how I can close my eyes and get a good night's sleep. These things are so hard to combat. You know you feel anger. You know you're just like, and sometimes when you hear these things, they just float over your head. You don't even really realize people are saying it. And then you end up later on when you start processing grief and you start processing your experiences, you start to go, wait a second, did that person really say that to me? And did I respond that way? And then if you're anything like any other griever out there, you're going, did I say the right thing back? What was their intention? Why did they say that? It's a never-ending whirlwind of emotions and questioning and you know, sometimes you just have to see the humor in things. Sometimes you have to sit and think about your loved one and think about what they would be thinking when someone says you're in a better place. I could hear my brother. Oh, yeah, well, this ain't no better place. I'd rather be riding my motorcycle with my sister having a blast. Sometimes you gotta go there just to make it through your day. The weirdest things and the most interesting things I've heard on my podcast have been outrageous. You can go back and listen to some of the stories and what people have said to each other and how the grieving just kind of look at them as if, how do I respond to that? And one that comes to mind was at one point, a young lady was grieving her grandma, and someone said, you should get a pet. And she loved pets, but she couldn't figure out how this pet was going to replace grandma. And her pet of choice, because her grandmother loved fish, was a fish. Well, she found herself sitting after she got a goldfish and it died so quickly. And she had never had a fish before. And as she sat sharing the story, she started bawling her eyes out. And she goes, I was crying over the fish. And what she had realized was she had attached her emotions to the fish. She was sitting there holding this fish, bawling her eyes out, going, this is insanity. What am I doing? To realize that there was this emotional connection between the pet and her grandmother. And then I did it because somebody said to me, well, you can get a pet. And she thought that would make it all better. Sometimes we don't register what people are saying to us. We just go and do. This young one did and thought it was going to make it all better. But then had the realization that how come I'm crying over a fish? How come I'm sitting here breaking down? To realize that she attached her emotions to the fish, then in turn attached to grandma. The next one, when a child dies, or if you have a miscarriage. I too have experienced this. And someone says, well, you still have other kids. Oh, perfect. Let me swap one out for another. It's just like picking socks out in the morning. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. Each human being is an individual. Each person is an individual. These phrases are things people are just blurting out. And we're going to explore why in a second, but let's keep going. What do you say? Right? I haven't given you anything really tangible to say back to these things. I've kind of suggested, but I feel like majority of my examples tend to end up kind of out of anger, kind of wanting to say, why are you saying this to me? So let's look at some ways of what not to say and what to say instead. I know how you feel, even if you had similar experiences. Everyone's grief is unique. So when someone says to you, I know how you feel. This is hard. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I'm here for you. So when someone says, I know how you feel, you're sitting there taking it as, you can't know how I feel. You didn't have a relationship with my loved one like I did. That intention of what they're trying to say is, I can't imagine what you're going through. I'm here for you. What if we give them the words? Would we be strong enough to do that? I think I would be. I would be now, after experiencing grief over and over again, as many of you have. This may not be your first rodeo. None of us have walked this earth without grieving. The intensity, or possibly the experience, is more traumatic. But when someone says, I know how you feel, wouldn't it be appropriate to say, share with me how you know how I feel? What have you experienced that has brought you to know how I feel? What about honesty back? You should be happy they live in a good life. That's a hard one. When someone you love who is older has died, and someone walks up and says, you should be happy they lived a good life. I should be. I really should be. And that brings me comfort. But I still hurt. Just because somebody prepared you for death, prepared you to grieve, does not mean you know how to handle it. Just because you foresaw the death, well, I hate to tell you, we all foresee our death. We all know this. None of us want to prepare ourselves for it. None of us want to talk about it. Maybe why we're in this situation where people are not speaking about it. And when we look for consoling and comfort, people are just throwing out words at us. Even if you're prepared for it, it doesn't help with grieving. Grieving is emotional and physical pain. It's human sorrow. There's no way around it. You must experience it. You must allow yourself. And these crazy things that people are going to say to you are going to happen no matter what. So let's work at it. How do we process it? And ask questions back. Let them share their stories of grief with you. They wouldn't want you to be sad. Unless the person you love who has died said, I don't want you to be sad, how can that be true? They know you're going to be sad. Your loved one would know that your heart would be breaking. Your loved one is crying with you. They know you need a period to adjust, be sad, and to cry. That's what happens when you grieve. If you're somebody listening to this and you're wondering what to say to those who are grieving, the best thing you can say, the best thing is, I'm here for you. And I want you to know that I'm here to listen, to laugh, to cry, to comfort, and do my best to support you through this. It breaks my heart that you are experiencing this. But together, we're going to make it. And it always helps to bring like a big ass dish of lasagna, pasta, mashed potatoes, chicken. I'm going to tell you, right now, food can make it all better. I know you don't want to hear that either, but it's true. It is so true. Bring some food over and sit with people and go over crazy stories of what people have said to you before. Go over crazy stories of what your loved one would be doing right now, watching you. You know that little voice in your ear. I recall being at my brother's funeral and standing next to my sister. And the one gentleman got up to say a prayer or something. And I looked over, and my sister looked over at me, and we kind of were like, Rob would be dying in laughter listening to this. The man was so fast. You couldn't understand a word he was saying. And I know right now my brother would have been laughing at that. You see, people are awkward in silence. Silence causes everyone to feel this awkwardness. But you know what makes people even more silent and causes them to feel completely out of their own realm? Grief. What you're hearing is a verbal word salad. That's what you're getting. These people's intentions are wonderful. They want to be there for you. They want to help you. But the moment they open their mouth and they think about their own immortality, and they think about their mortality, and then they think about grieving, and then they think about their loved ones dying, you have to think about it. All these things are going through your head. And all of a sudden, all these words come out, and they're meant with great intentions. But sometimes you just can't take it. Sometimes you have to say to a good friend, bring me some lasagna, bring me some pizza, bring me some ice cream, sit down with me, let's watch Netflix, and just laugh and cry. So, wait, did you say that? Yeah, they did. Your loved ones did say that. And sometimes, yes, you want to laugh and just shake your head. Sometimes you want to cry. Sometimes you want to throat punch them. Sometimes you think their advice is okay. You go buy a goldfish. No matter how you navigate yourself through grief, no matter how you navigate yourself through the crazy things people say, just know one thing. This is a difficult path, and there is no one way to walk it. It's only together that we walk the path to grief, and it is only together that we heal. Take care, guys. Grief Uprooted professional grief and empowerment coaching are not to be used as a substitute for professional advice by legal, medical, financial, business, spiritual, or other qualified professionals. All our products and services are designed for grief empowerment through learning and sharing of one's lived experiences.